Hi everyone, this is Stan, your favorite Polish Taiwan YouTuber. Hope you're all having a great day. Welcome to today's show. In this video, let's talk about the brave man who hung the banners at a Beijing overpass in protest of Xi Jinping's eternal rule. And let's show our support to the brave Bridgeman, Peng Zhaizhou. After he got arrested, and after the incident has been shown on the news, there hasn't been much new information about the protest, and the people switched their attention to something different. I think we should continue supporting those Chinese people who are willing to protest, who know what really is going on in China. We should spread the voice, and that's the main reason behind this video. Xi Jinping gaining absolute power caused worldwide anxiety, and if you look closely, the most anxious here are not only the countries in Europe and America, but the Chinese people themselves, as they are the main victims of that brutal dictator. You know that most of the Chinese people have had very low standards of living for a long time, but now it has become even harder for them to earn a living and take care of their families. Now, with the total control by the CCP, the zero COVID policies and health QR codes, the party affects even such simple things as your ability to eat, if you can eat or not. Before, you could probably still say in China that politics and economy are separate, I don't want to have anything to do with politics, and enjoy little moments of your life. But Xi Jinping is drunk on his big country dreams, and he wants to control everything and destroy everything at the same time. And even the word zero COVID, Qingling in Mandarin, became the new sobriquet of the Chinese emperor of the 21st century, Xi the Zero COVID. What is interesting, the zero COVID policies by Xi Jinping. In Mandarin, Qingling, Qing, sounds the same as the Qing Empire and Qingchu, remove, eliminate, get rid of, and Ling is zero, the absence of anything. You can also add a character Zong, which is added to the names of the former rulers after they die. This character displays in the temples, so Qingling Zong actually sounds like an emperor who wants to destroy the happiness and the livelihood of the Chinese people. It also symbolizes that China never ended its imperial traditions, which is very unfortunate. So let's humiliate the Chinese dictator together by saying Qingling Zong and Xi Weini, which means Xing the Poo. Talking about the new tankman, or how they call him, the Bridgeman, Peng Zhaizhou, he hung the banners at a Beijing overpass, where he wrote the things that the Chinese Communist Party is most afraid of. Oh yeah, and he didn't only hang the banners, he also started burning things on the top of the bridge to make smoke and gain more attention. He really is one of the bravest Chinese people that dare to stand up against the dictatorship. Even though many of you already know what's written on the banner, I hope we can read it out loud together. Hope it helps those people who can't stand for the CCP's oppression. Food, not PCR tests. Freedom, not lockdowns. Reforms, not the Cultural Revolution. Elections, not leaders. Dignity, not lies. Citizens, not slaves. Just think about it. You have to be very brave to do it. It's the beginning of the CCP's National Congress. It's the capital of China, Beijing, which is heavily guarded and has the harshest restrictions. And as every year there are people protesting for human rights in Beijing, right now even buying kitchen knives requires you to provide your personal data and an ID. Even in such a place he managed to overcome all the difficulties and actually hung those banners. And for us living in the free world, it's not even possible to imagine what this guy has been through and how he overcame his own fears and stood up. It all reminded me of the Polish Solidarity movement and Lech Wałęsa, organizing workers' movements to resist the totalitarian government. Yes, they didn't succeed the first day. Many people have been arrested, harassed, some were beaten to death. But the people never stopped the protest. Some people found very creative way to resist actually, such as the people in Wrocław, dressing up as dwarfs, spreading leaflets, and when they were arrested by the police of the totalitarian Polish communist government, they made this oppressive government just laughable. Imagine, the newspaper articles the following day. People arrested for dressing up as dwarves. I think maybe the Chinese people can start protests by dressing up as Winnie the Pooh and arrange a flash mob to see how embarrassing it would be for Winnie the Shi himself. Wait, I think something like that happened in Poland already actually. The most harming part of the banner is this one. Elections, not leaders. Citizens, not slaves. Of course, Xi won't let Peng Zhaizhou get away with it. I think that his bravery and hard work shouldn't be wasted and forgotten. We don't know where the hero of the Beijing overpass is now. We shouldn't stop paying attention to that incident a couple of days after the news. We should keep on looking for the information and follow up with the issue, the same way we did with the story of the mother of 8 from Xuzhou. We shouldn't be silent. And after the incident I realized how more and more people are protesting Xi Jinping in China, like the recent news where the walls of the bathrooms were covered with anti-Xi slogans, such as "Xi, you're just up, time to get off," or "We need a general election, we need to choose our political leaders and elect the chairman directly." and so on. The authoritarian rulers of China made a very laughable answer to those protests. For example, requiring Chinese citizens to buy banner fabric only after showing their ID. And after the bathroom walls were covered in slogans, the requirement to provide personal data extended to those who want to buy paint. And also this one, very funny actually. They arranged civil servants to observe bridges and bathrooms, so now there are two new positions in CCP's China: bathroom watcher and bridge watcher. Now let's talk about sensitive words. Right now the information has been spreading all over the internet in China. Xi knew the flu is becoming more and more sensitive, and the reaction of his censorship departments is very swift. Right now you can't find Peng Zaizhou's name, you can't find any of the slogans on the banner. Everything is banned on the Chinese internet. Even some relative words like Haidian, the area in Beijing, or Beijing protest or Sitong Bridge, none of this can be found on Chinese search engines. Even the words like bridge and hero, when you search for those, you won't find anything related to the incident. You know, the whole Mandarin-speaking world is actually laughing at those sensitive words. In August 2016, the CCP State Council sent an official letter to Le TV with a list of Xi Jinping-related sensitive words. And the number of these words was 35,467. And it's from 6 years ago, just imagine how many more are there now. Another funny thing is how illiterate Xi Jinping is. I have to explain it to non-Mandarin speakers how Xi said once instead of 赡养, he said 赡养.
老人瞻仰.
So instead of taking care of the elderly, it became something like look at the elderly at the moment before they die. For Mandarin speakers, it's a very funny mistake, or like him not knowing some very easy Chinese idioms such as 通商宽农, convenience for business transactions and preferential agricultural policies. He read this idiom as 通商宽衣,
通商宽衣,
sounding something like being naked. Doesn't that remind you of a fairy tale, Emperor's New Clothes? The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation in reality is just a wet dream of an illiterate dictator. There is an even funnier accident when instead of exquisite and delicate fine brushwork, he said fine brushwork of kidneys.
精慎细腻.
That idiom, 精湛细腻, is one you should probably learn at your elementary school. Well, talking about the fine brushworks, there is also a famous painting in China, along the river during the Qingming festival. Recently, a new version of it appeared on the Chinese internet, along the PCR during the Zero COVID madness. That's my inaccurate translation. That is actually pretty interesting how they changed the name from Qingming Shanghe Tu to Qingling Shanghe Tu. River sounds like the first character in the PCR test, 核酸, and Qingming festival sounds closely to Zero COVID, Qingling. This painting probably is an essence of the finest brushworks of the new Chinese realism. And coming back to Xi Jinping, do you think that his Mandarin improved during the recent National Congress? Nope. This time he made even more mistakes.
和接踵而至的使物质文明生动活泼，坚持达学，为解放人类面临的共同问题，保障妇女儿童，着力推进，着力推动，着力提高，着力提升，完章固记，实施供给侧，供给侧的供给。
That's not the problem. He also knew that he'll mispronounce and make mistakes, so now all of his mistakes have been deleted from the Chinese internet. So it's a shame that many Chinese people won't see how illiterate their great leader really is. So now, do you think that Xi might actually feel a little bit anxious? Of course he does. Recently in Manchester, Chinese consulate personnel have beaten the protesters. If you didn't hear the news, let me recap it for you. During the first day of the 20th National Congress, many Hong Kongers in the UK protested in front of China's consulate in Manchester. The Consul General Zheng Xiyuan has torn down the posters that the protesters held and tried to drag them into the embassy to continue the beating. Here is what one of the protesters that suffered from such a barbaric behavior said. They were dragging me and have beaten me harshly. This incident made the news and shocked the general public, but something like that actually happened with the Chinese embassies before, even during the Qing Empire times. Chinese revolutionary Sun Yat-sen had been opposing the imperial rule and the emperor. So when he was in England, the Qing Empire embassy abducted him and forcefully kept him on the grounds of the embassy building. You can read about it in the book Kidnapped in London. I'm having a very weird feeling after reading the news. Qing Empire stopped its existence more than 100 years ago, but even in modern-day China, nothing has ever changed. You had the Emperor Zero COVID Xi the Flu on top, whose figure is very similar to Empress Dowager Cixi, with little pinkies acting as boxers during Cixi's time. I think most of us who currently live in the democratic countries would find all of those things ridiculous, maybe funny, but don't forget that for the Chinese people, times of true hardships have just come. I've been talking about Taiwan on my channel many times, and even though Taiwan is very cautious of China's actions, Chinese people are also going through a lot. They don't even have an opportunity to speak up against the their rulers. Therefore, for us, the people outside of the Great Wall, it is important to help the Chinese people to spread their word. It's a duty of every citizen of a free world. We have to stop the spread of totalitarianism and let the true voices of Chinese people be heard. We should keep on spreading the information and not let Xi Jinping keep the people of China silent. The CCP is afraid of the Chinese people. People living in Beijing might think that they freely live in the capital city, a safe place. But in reality, it's not like that. The CCP sees every resident of Beijing as a terrorist who might want to overthrow the CCP's rule. But in reality, it's the CCP who is the real criminal holding power for 70 years illegally in China. Think about East Turkestan. Uyghur people are treated as criminals, and right now the same measures are being applied to the people of Beijing and all China actually. Chinese people might have thought that they are different from Uyghurs or Hong Kongers, but in reality everyone is a slave of the communist masters. And everyone should oppose and protest against this brutal regime. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please press like, subscribe and share. This is Stan. I see you in the next one. Bye bye.